Welcome out everybody to ExCog Radio, episode number 6. Holy fucking shit, Shadowbringers, am I right? I am Angel Lux, your main host, and today we're gonna be talking about all the fucking good stuff that Shadowbringers brought us and the story. We're gonna spoil everything. If you haven't done the story yet, please don't listen to this podcast. Joining me as always is my co-host, Mr. Variel Ambergold, the most cursed man on the Citadel.
I'm not really on the Citadel anymore, at least at the moment. The curse seems to mostly have gone away too.
Yeah, well, we live and we grow and we learn, right? Joining us again for the second time is Mr. Megumin Meguu. What's up, my dude?
Yo, what up, guys?
And for the first time, Mr. Shacon Fell-cleave, the Pope of Fell-cleaves.
Hello everyone, I have opened the Church of Fell-cleave in the Citadel.
This gonna be
I'll
awesome.
tell you what, guys, I haven't been this hype about Final Fantasy since they had to murder the Pope in space.
Wait, what?
In space?
Wait, space? Hold on. That's
Jordan.
wrong.
Which
Yeah, but
space
it wasn't
Pope?
Space.
Space
Yeah, it
Pope?
was. He
Wait,
takes
was
you.
it space?
Thornton takes you into space during his big transition, the background.
Oh,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Oh.
That was a while ago. That was still a cool ass fight.
That was.
Today
Yeah.
Well, let's get this ball rolling. Today we're recording on location at my house, which I have basically built on since 2014 when I got the first plot back on Shiva. Then I moved to Odin and got the same plot, and now I'm on Lich with on the same plot. I love this place. It's really convenient, close to a summoning bell and a market board over there. And welcome to... Yeah?
Actually, one thing we will say just before we get underway, we're going to be going through the story more or less linearly. So if you've done most of it, but not all of it, you can stick around for the first half of the podcast or so.
Exactly. Like Variel said, we're gonna go basically zone for... We haven't... Which zone are we gonna start with though, because it splits?
It would be...
Normal.
No, you start with Lakelands, wouldn't you?
Well,
Technically.
not really, because you land in Lake Clan, but you don't really do anything
So,
there until
Crystarium.
after the first two arcs.
Crystarium.
Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
So this is my plot, my house, and as you can see, it's a bit weeby on the outside, at least with all these cherry blossoms.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, they actually took away the limitation on exteriors, so if you wanted to, you could actually put the Shirogane walls and roof on your house.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna look
Wait,
into that
really?
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been meaning to try and redecorate the outside of our FC house with the Oasis one of the Oasis roofs and some stone walls to make it look more like a castle.
Nice.
Not a bad idea actually. So yeah, this is my garden. Mostly just the trees, little resting area with the nice fountain. It's a lot nicer at night when all the effects are actually glowing up. But yeah, it's the outside. You can't do much. And this thing I basically stole from somewhere, but it's pretty cool.
What?
I mean, most people do something with these pawns and this sleepwalk
see.
thing in my Giger. And then I put this little bamboo scary off bad things thing here too.
Ah, wait there. I see.
Yeah, because as we all know, vengeful spirits may choose to torment your life and destroy you, but they are absolutely terrified of a quiet, rhythmic thunking noise.
Of course. Isn't it more for animals than spirits?
I think it was for spirits, but on more practical terms, it will keep animals away.
I
At least until
guess.
they realize what it is, because most animals aren't that stupid.
Oh yeah, they're not actually.
Except beavers. Beavers are actually really stupid. It's quite impressive.
Yo, don't bully the beaver. I have the beaver now and I'm happy.
Head beaver Megumi.
There
Right,
was
let's go inside.
a bunch of zoologists did an experiment on beaver intelligence,
Oh.
and what they essentially did is they took an audio recording of a waterfall and put it on a piece of grass, I think it was on a table or something, and the beavers that they let into the room all thought it was a river, so they started trying to build a dam on top of the recorder.
Seems about right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the upstairs on my house, and in here to the right I have basically everything I need. Summoning bell, armorier, company chest, artisan bell for when I never change my character.
A bird drinking from a glass.
And I don't know why there's a mender there. There should be a material supplier, but I've been a bit busy since I moved to Lich XT. And yeah, and the acapella thingy there that's drinking, that's like, yeah, it brings Zen when you craft in there. Oh yeah, and Variel found my little installation under the the table there. I so wish that you could have those on permanently, but you can't. That would be cool though. So yeah, this has basically been a work in progress. Why the fuck is the flower vase on the ground? There we go. This has basically been a work in progress since 2014, and I have done like 2 or 3 major renovations and redone a lot, but yeah. And of course we have the pies burning in the fireplace, cause fuck your demo spawns.
Hey,
Wait,
pies
what?
are cool. Hey, if you don't want that pies, I'll take it off your hands.
Nah, it's cool.
Don't burn it.
Nah, I
Where'd
get
you
that.
get that? Where'd you get that pies from?
I think that was on an event. Heaven's Turn last year?
That is it wouldn't have been from last year. That's a real shame.
I actually don't know which event, but I'm pretty sure it was an event item. And of course I have Minfilia up there, my inspiration in life, XD.
Well, hey, she's back.
Yeah, my little office area, and I thought it was a really nice touch putting some paintings on that wall to make
Tried
that
by
a bit...
Bahamut.
Yeah. Well, you need to have that Bahamut statue, I guess. I don't know.
God damn, this workplace is even more busy than my study.
Yeah. Thing is, this place is cluttered, or it feels cluttered. I am far from even capped on housing items. And
Oh my god.
This Ifrit phase here is pretty fun. It scared a lot of people, and I put it there because my friend was trolling me at one point. So I was like, yeah, just go down the basement. It scared the shit out of him. And the basement, that's seen the most reworks over the years, and I'm pretty happy with how it is now. We had this first hallway, cluttered with a lot of dumb shit, of course, and then over to my little bath area, which might be a bit overkill, because I don't even use it, but still. Most people don't have a waterfall, a shower unit, and 2 bathroom tubs in one.
My main question is, what's the name of the fish?
That's an angelfish.
Ah.
For memes. It's not... I'm gonna change it out at some point. I'm also gonna put the Tsukuyomi background in there instead. But that cost like $1 million last I checked, and I don't want to spend that on like aquarium decoration. And then I have this little hallway here with some more NPCs, Down Ending Journey, toy box, all that good stuff. And all the way back in here is my bedroom, which Variel's already found, and he's already too tired from all the grinding he's done, it seems.
I think Megumin's also tired.
My black mage senses have alerted me to a place to sleep.
So I say I don't like Moogles, but I have my little Moogle nest over here. Every time I get one new Moogle from the retainers, I'm gonna add it on here. But I haven't got one in a while now.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And some other stuffed animals and stuff, and yeah.
It needs to be Fell-cleaved.
It needs to be Fell-cleaved. Some of the nicer posters I have around here. Where is my Moonfire poster? Huh, guess I got lost in the transfer to Lich. Rip, that was my last one. I had 4 of them at one point. Oh well. We should probably head up to the living room and start this podcast off. You can legit find things in my house if you look around for a while, but that's the thing. I don't really want to spend too much time on my house today.
If you look.
If you look.
It's like a Final Fantasy version of American Pickers. just waiting for all this crap, and you're like, wow, genuine elegant artifact hidden behind a bunch of like tattered Moogles.
Basically, like, I have spent a lot of time on this house, and basically it just comes down to every time I find something I like, I want to add it in some way or another, and I don't really care. It is cluttered, yes, and I am a bit of a hoarder, yes, but you know.
A bit.
A bit. Don't look at my retainers, please.
Okay, so I guess probably before we move on to anything specific for Shadowbringers, what's been everyone's general impressions on the expansion, the new story, the class changes, the battle changes, things like that?
I would say I like Dragoon again, which is nice. And I don't like Scholar anymore, and that's basically the extent of what the class I've had tried out a lot, at least. White Mage seems the same, and Bard I took a look at and was like, no, I'm not gonna go with this time. And
White Mage's wings were a godsend in the later dungeons.
I want those wings. It will fit me so good. But other than that, like, Bard seems to have gotten a bit shafted because of Dancer. But I don't have many opinions on other classes, so I'm just gonna shut up and let you guys take over from there.
Warrior is a bit broken.
A bit.
From tanking wise. A bit. Angels had the luxury of doing all the dunkers with me. And they do a bit too much damage and tank a bit too well still with healing, self-healing.
I will say, in regards to tank damage, it seems like with the release of Shadowbringers, they've actually decided to let all of the tanks do reasonable amounts of damage, instead of letting them just be like meat blobs that get punched in the face. I actually personally really enjoy, because that's basically what tanks have been since really, really early Final Fantasy XIV. DPS that can take a hit.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's not that they've like broken the tanks and now everyone's just going to be taking 4 tanks into dungeons. It's more like they've finally acknowledged the fact that the tank DPS is important, and they're actually allowing tanks to have proper DPS rotations instead of just 1 through 3, 1 through 3. My friend who's been playing Paladin through the expansion because he wants to tank in our static, he's been absolutely fanboying over Confiteor. He's had hits as high as 53k with that.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's more than a chaos.
Yeah, that's Paladin pretty much.
Yeah,
to be honest,
now,
all the other
now
tanks,
is the time for Paladins.
all the other tanks, they were already good. Like Paladin was boring, but it was just like this Paladin issues that it was supposed to be a low DPS, high utility tank. In the end, it didn't work out for Square because crit scalings and stuff scalings and everything that like broke the game at the end of Stormblood. And now it's like, the good thing is what they did now is gave every job a designated AoE rotation. So it's not boring anymore to do dungeons with all the classes. I personally, I think Dark Knight has too much now, because they have Unleashed, they have Steward Soul or something, that is the combo goes out from Unleashed. They have Flood of Darkness, or the Flood of Shadow, and they that is OGCD by the way, and they have Krutas. So they have literally 4 skills, and my hotbar is completely overloaded in Dark Knight, and I completely don't like it.
Oh. 4 skills doesn't really sound like much of an overload.
Yeah, but with all the other skills, with the OGCDs that you still have, like, my hotbar is overloaded.
I mean, I really like the AoE changes on Paladin because they've got a physical and a magical AoE rotation. Well, drop into Requiescat and spam Holy Circle is the magical rotation, but it's there.
Such rotation.
I mean, it's good. Like, I've no problem with that, popping Requiescat and spamming that shit. And then using the sword at the end of it, that's completely fine, I think. Because the other tanks are just pressing 1-2, 1-2 in their AoE rotation, nothing else. Till they build enough resource.
But it's good that they've added a proper AoE rotation to every class as well. And the removal of TP means that melee classes can actually use their AoE rotations as well without crippling themselves. So it makes dungeons play a lot more smoothly and a lot more quickly, but not in the sense that when the dungeons are now super easy and we're all just face rolling through them. It's more like we actually now have the tools to properly handle what's thrown at us in dungeons.
And I think the removal of TP, a lot of people were crying about it, me included, like, oh, it's gonna dumb down the game, but I don't miss it for a single second, honestly.
No.
I mean, you were crying that it would dumb down the game because you're an unpleasable old man that sees the worst in everything Square does.
Hey, I always going with the angle that I expect the worst, and then I get pleasantly surprised.
But I feel like I was just running one of the level 80 dungeons, the twinning. Spoiler alert. And we got through that dungeon in about 17, 18 minutes, even though we wiped on the first boss. And it's not because that dungeon is easy. That dungeon is really not easy.
No, it's definitely not.
It's because we actually it's because everyone now actually has the tools to deal with large packs of trash. That's actually that's another thing that I've really liked about Shadowbringers. The adjustment to AoEs and the adjustment to the way that tank mitigation works, and the adjustment to their dungeon design as well. There are a lot more big trash pulls in Shadowbringers than there were in Stormblood or Heavensward.
Yeah.
And more dangerous pulls. For
Oh, yeah.
example, on the
hell
twinning,
yeah.
on the twinning, there's one pull where you have those centaurs that use berserk, and if you let it switch the damage up, so the tank, or like if you have a melee or something that can also stun. So pretty much as a tank, you have to look out at your aggro list, see when they cast, and then swap between the target. One you can silence, the other one stun. And I personally think in this expansion, if you are a good player, if you are capable on managing all your skills, you win. And I really think they don't make this game more casually. Actually, they make it, yes, they do make it kind of more casually, better to understand. But if you're a good player, you can go even further now than in Stormblood.
I think more casual is the wrong word because,
Yeah.
well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with the game being more casual. People keep substituting casual for brain dead, and that's not fair on anyone.
No.
But what they've done is they've trimmed away the stupid shit which didn't actually require any forethought. It was just a weight around our neck.
Exactly.
For example, a good example of this is the removal of tank stance. With the old tank stance, it was much like the old cleric stance. It wasn't something that you could interact with for extra optimization. It was something where you had to choose what you were bad at, not what you were good at.
Well,
And that's a lot of what Shadowbringers seems to have done. They've trimmed away a lot of things which didn't actually add to the game, and in return, they've allowed to expand out into more abilities. Like, for example, the new interrupt system. Now, that's technically always been in the game, but now there's an actual system for it. It's something that we can see and interact with.
I don't think it's fully working though, because the only abilities that are actually being displayed as being interruptible are the ones you can silence. The stunnable abilities are still don't have a tell, so to say.
oh yeah, it's they also said it's only for silence for stun, because you can pretty much stun every mob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
stun is different to stun is also different
Yeah.
because stun completely shuts down an enemy as opposed to just simply interrupting the attack.
Okay,
But no,
true.
that was kind of my point about the interrupt system. Yes, they've completely taken away all the guesswork. But
Yeah.
6 years of this game now, from 2.0's release to the end of Stormblood, and not once did anyone actually enjoy that guesswork.
No.
It was just punishing, and rendered things like silences and pacifications and stuns largely useless. Now we can actually see that information, and we always know that's something we can actually interact with. So that's kind of how that's an example of how Shadowbringers has, air quotes, casualized something by taking away the guesswork, but in doing that has actually made it a more involved part of fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's agreeable. But, like,
Yes.
I think
No, go on, check out.
I think, like, in general, for Shadowbringers as a whole, it's been, like, the best update of combat probably for the entire game.
Definitely.
Like, a long time. The removal of
Combat's been
TP,
amazing.
yeah, no one liked it at the start, but it's actually been, like, it was really just a limit on how fast you can do dungeons or how much you can pull for melees and tanks and range.
And
Yeah,
some
because-
abilities having charges. Also a really good idea, actually. I never thought about that myself.
Absolutely fantastic, and I adore that addition.
Yeah.
Yeah, dear God, infuriate with 2 charges.
There
I
are
still-
there are a couple of things which I think they should have added charges to that they haven't. For example, I really feel like they should have added charges to Sharpcast, but that's not really a complaint.
That's
No.
more of a
They
wish.
half the cooldown.
I can talk more on that when it's actually. You done then, Megumin?
Huh? Yeah.
Do you have anything to add about your classes, Shacon?
Well, I've only played Warrior Machinist, and oh my God, Machinist with its overhaul, bloody amazing. Like, I'll admit I enjoyed the old Machinist, and I did that stupid rotation to align with Wildfire, but the new one has just been amazing and enjoyable compared to Stormblood Machinist.
What's your opinion on the extremely high number of casts per minute? Because I've heard that it's been giving some people problems. I mean, I've heard for some people it's literally getting so bad it's causing like health problems with their hands to flare up.
Wait.
I really haven't had that much problem, but I have like seen when you heat up, you can probably pull out about 30 ability, no, not 30, fucking 15 abilities in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Which
It works.
you-
I think the guys on the balance worked it out as about 53 actions per minute.
yeah,
Yeah.
Which
'Cause
is the
you
highest
can-
it's ever been in this game.
because you can heat up like 3 times in a row, which is a bunch of abilities, plus Wildfire, plus the turret, plus the Rock Overdrive,
Plus Heat Blast.
plus any off-global cooldown, which is Ricochet and Gauze Round, which both have 2 charges now.
And it's also the fact that Heat Blast also reduces the cooldowns on those 2 abilities by.
It resets them.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Because I have a friend who I off again on again raid with, and she is she's very new to raiding, but she plays Machinist at a very high tier. Like she would have gone into Ultimate if she didn't start raiding so late into Stormblood's life cycle. And she actually mentioned how she has to take breaks now when she plays Machinist because the sheer number of buttons that she has to push is aggravating a injury that she got when she binge played Osu years ago.
Oof.
Oh
Like-
yeah, I have the same with Dark Knight and Dragoon.
So I mean, I guess that is actually a really weird issue because this to have for this game, because one of the things that's marked combat in this game out
It's
against
slow.
a lot of other MMOs is how slow the GCD is.
Yeah.
It's not
um,
true. The thing is, it's not true because of all the OG cities, like
Let
the
me finish.
Okay,
Let me
I'm sorry.
finish. There are like for example, in WoW, you can push your GCD down to about 1 second
Yep.
if you really push it. Which would be that is fast. That having a class with 1 GCD will be the equivalent 1 second GCD would be the equivalent to double weaving between every single GCD in the entire fight in this game. So even with OGCDs, this game still does actually play in terms of just simply time. It plays slowly. So for them, that's not a complaint. That's just a fact. I like this game plays. But then for these new classes to come out and for them to have to mash buttons so much that it's literally setting off people's health problems, that is a really weird issue for this game to have. I mean, for anyone listening to this podcast with the whole like Machinist is causing people's hands to get crippled, that is a very borderline case. That is absolutely not normal. That's like if you're playing Machinist for an hour and a half straight with a hand injury.
I will say now, I haven't any hand injuries, and I play with 12-button mouse and have it all located on 12-button mouse. All I'm doing is moving my thumb.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of abilities to maintain. Like, Wildfire is probably stupidly broken now, if you can pull off, like, all those abilities.
There is actually, in terms of pure numbers, which is why I expect this to get fixed in the hotfix coming up soon, Machinist is actually behind Bard in terms of DPS at high
What?
levels of play.
Really?
Yeah. Although, to be honest, considering considering how much they redesigned the class, I'm really not surprised that it's having some teething problems. They rebuilt the entire class from the ground up.
Yeah.
It's the same with Gunbreaker. Like, you see Gunbreakers, I'm dealing like 7k damage, Gunbreaker's dealing like 5k damage. That's probably not because of the class, that's just because it's the new class. And I've seen Machinists dealing 9k DPS and Bards dealing 9k DPS now, so... Yeah.
I mean, I think part of the issue with that as well is people going to the balance, seeing the numbers, and then just taking it as absolute fact.
Yeah.
Guys, the people on the balance may be slightly more experienced at analyzing this game than the average player, but that doesn't mean that their word is gospel. And they do kind of have a bad habit of operating on information that they know is relatively, like, not faulty, but not complete. Like, I've been into the balance, and they've said, oh yeah, no, this is the correct way to play. And then I've gone in like a week later, and they'll go, oh yeah, we were wrong about that, no, this is the correct way to play.
And
The balance aren't full of shit, but take what they say with a grain of salt. They're players just like everyone else.
Yeah, and like
especially
Go on, Megumin.
Especially on classes like Machinist, they have a lot of skills. That means you have to like rearrange skills and stuff like that to find the optimal, and that takes time. Look at Ninja, for example. Ninja has a lot of skill and had a lot of skill in Stormblood and still has a lot of skills. They changed the rotation in 4.1. It was like something you trick attacked at the 4th GCD or something at 5th GCD, and you actually used Raiton more often than Fuma. Then they changed it to more a lot of Fumas and a TCJ opener, and now we have a Barack Obama opener. And the TCJ opener, so yeah, pretty much it changes a lot in effect of the expansion.
A good example would be the tornado kick rotation in Monk. If I remember correctly, people figured out the tornado kick round about halfway through 4.1, near 4.2, and it wasn't like anything had changed. It literally just took people months to figure out the tornado kick. Tornado kick rotation, which, by the way, thank God that rotation is dead. I hated it. I refused to learn it because it made the class play like crap.
Really? Okay.
Because, well, at least in my opinion, because the thing with Monk is that it's an extremely fluid class with a very mobile rotation that you could change, and it just goes smoothly, it flows well. The tornado kick, on one hand, yeah, it does require a much greater degree of focus and skill than regular Monk play, so it can feel more rewarding. On the other hand, it was a really rigid rotation that a lot of Monks absolutely hated.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a weird rotation.
Anyway, basically the whole thing revolved around using tornado kick as soon as you could, using perfect balance immediately afterwards to get another tornado kick off. But the difficulty in the rotation wasn't in the execution, it was actually in the recovery afterwards. You had to do loads of like stupid finagly things to stop you from like crippling your damage output, because the tornado kick rotation done wrong completely ballsed up your damage output. You need to do things like make sure to save a perfect balance use after your tornado kick so you can snap punch demolish, so you don't go into a grease lightning 0 demolish. Things like that. I'm glad it's gone.
Also, you had to swap into wind stance to get the
Riddle of Wind.
Yeah, Riddle of Wind to get the Grease Lightning back, and you're not allowed to Riddle of Fire because that fucked you over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or swap from Riddle of Fire into the Wind thing because that also threw away your thing. It was just like so disgusting.
The things you had to do to optimize it were bullshit and finagly, and that's coming from someone that raids as a black mage. Bullshit finagly optimization is my entire fucking class, and even I found it insufferable. Have you got anything else to add, Shacon?
Not with Monk or Black Mage, because I never really touched them.
Hey, it's my turn now. the changes to Black Mage have actually seemed to run a lot deeper than the job action trailer would suggest, and it is way more interesting. For example, back in Stormblood, during an Astral Fire rotation, you would get off 6 Fire 4s, and that had nothing to do with your timer. That was just simply to do with your mana limitations. Because they have changed flipping elements to be free. Also, under Umbral Ice 3, your ice spells are also free. Not only have they made doing Blizzard a lot less finicky, but the mana that you save from that change actually allows you to get a 7th Fire 4 off during your Astral Fire rotation. Despair also feels really good, because the nice thing about Despair is that you don't need to end on a specific mana amount at the end of your rotation like you used to. Like back in Stormblood, the specific way that you had to execute your Umbral Ice phase was Blizzard 3, Thunder 3, Blizzard 4. If you did Thunder 3 last, you would lose a Fire 4 use because you'd be short by like 100, 200 mana. It was tight and stupid, and now with the changes, that's just gone, which I really appreciate.
I heard Black Mage is more mobile this expansion with their new AT ability.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll get onto that in a second, but it's incredible. Also, for anyone listening, Freeze is no longer shit. It's now a core part of your AoE rotation.
Wow.
And it's wonderful. My brother can finally come in from the cold. Yeah, for anyone, they changed Freeze so that it is, first of all, they removed the bind on Freeze and Blizzard 2, which is actually good, because all that really did was cause problems. But Freeze is no longer a ground target. It's now it's now centered on the enemy that you are targeting, like any of your other AoEs. And not only is it basically AoE Blizzard 3, but once you unlock Umbral Hearts, Freeze will also give you an Umbral Heart where you cast it. So in your AoE rotation, you've gone from having to cast Blizzard 3 and Blizzard 4 to just casting Freeze, and Freeze is an AoE. So the Black Mage's AoE flows so smoothly, it feels so good. At level 72, you pick up Aspect Mastery, which makes flipping between the two elements free, which I just mentioned how it's good. At 74, you pick up Sharpcast, which reduces the cooldown of Sharpcast from 1 minute to 30 seconds, which 30 seconds is basically the length of your rotation. So you can now use Sharpcast as part of your core rotation, which is why I feel like they should have made it a charged ability. For anyone that doesn't know what Sharpcast does, it basically guarantees a Fire Starter proc, or when you cast Fire 1, or a Thundercloud proc when you cast a Thunder spell. If you don't know what that means, you probably aren't going to understand a word of what I'm saying anyway.
I don't understand any of this, XD.
I do.
It's great. You get Despair at 72. Despair can best be described as a single target flare. It is a 380 potency attack, which is 80 potency higher than Fire 4, and it consumes all of your MP. That's actually another thing I should probably mention. Because flipping between your two elements no longer costs mana from level 72, you don't need to use Transpose in your core rotation anymore, which feels so good. Using Transpose in my AoE rotation always felt really dumb. What else is there? At level 76, you get Umbral Soul, and Umbral Soul is incredible. I think it's actually my favorite addition to Black Mage in this entire expansion. Because essentially what Umbral Soul is, it's an ability on the GCD which refreshes your Umbral Ice timer, grants you an Umbral Ice, and grants you an Umbral Heart. And what that means is that you can enter every fight in a dungeon after the first pull with full Umbral Ice and full Umbral Hearts, which means that you don't need to do a reopener. You can also do this like during downtime in mid-boss fights, when the boss becomes untargetable, or when you're being forced to move. Umbral Soul is just incredible, and it's almost completely negated Black Mage's reopener. You still need to reapply your Thunder, but hey. At 78, you just get an upgrade to your Enochian, where Enochian's damage boost goes from 10% to 15%, because more free damage on Black Mage.
Why
It's
not?
amazing. It's my class has no raid utility. I'll take what I can get. And then of course at level 80, you get 2 polyglot stacks. Quick explanation for what polyglot is. You know that super insane batshit ability Black Mage got back in Stormblood Foul?
Uh-huh.
That's what polyglot does. What it's for, I mean. For every 30 seconds that you maintain Enochian, you get a polyglot stack, which allows you to cast Foul. At level 80, Black Mage can stack 2 polyglots.
Oh.
Which is great, because you're unlikely to be using that for mid-battle shenanigans. It's mainly just the quality of life that makes using your polyglots slightly less frustrating. Because beforehand, if you had a polyglot stack and you let the timer fill out again, you just lose your stack. And sometimes that was because of like a little mistake that you made. But quite often it was just because of like a minute-long downtime phase during certain bosses or something like that, and it just felt bad. But now we can hold 2. And this leads on to the even better part, Xenoglossy. The most ridiculous ability added in this entire fucking expansion. My damage record is an 82k direct crit on Xenoglossy, and I don't even have her on gear yet.
Is that like higher than Samurai?
Almost certainly.
Wow.
Xenoglossy is a 750 potency single target attack, and the other nice thing about Xenoglossy is that it's an instant cast, which means that not only can you use it on the move, but you can also weave it in. You can also use it to weave in OGCDs, because a lot of Black Mages out there may not realize this if they only do dungeons, but using your OGCDs properly on a Black Mage is actually really difficult, because almost all of your abilities are either the length of the GCD or even slightly longer. So if you use your OGCDs, you will clip them. What that means for any new people listening is that you will delay your next OGCD because of the animation, your next GCD, because of the animation lock of your OGCD. Xenoglossy being an instant cast is another opportunity to use an OGCD. Which is really good. Xenoglossy is just fantastic, top to bottom, and I love it.
Jesus Christ. What the hell, Black Mage?
No, this expansion has been absolutely fantastic for Black Mage. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's broken, but because the entire point of Black Mage is to have the highest DPS output in the entire game. But, lad!
I think
Yoshi P smiles down on us today.
Well, it is his main class, and I think broken is probably a term we can reserve for dancer, if anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, from what I've seen of dancer, it's not necessarily the problem's not necessarily dancer's output. It's more bard and machinist's output.
No, it is the output, definitely. It deals way too much damage.
Yeah.
You can say no matter what, a 100k damage skill on a 120 second cooldown is just way too much.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that I can't remember. Is that the one that requires you to chain together non-damaging OGCD?
It's not hard.
Yeah, but they are 1.5 seconds, so you do is 1.5, that's 3, that's 6, 7.5 seconds.
Yeah, but the point is, that's 100k over basically 4 GCDs.
Plus also a buff to every party member of damage dealing.
Yeah. I'm just saying, it's good, but broken is an exaggeration because that's 25k per GCD on their signature ability.
Just like calculated with like every other class, no other class can get to that amount of potency. It's just insane. Or like damage.
Fair enough.
This 100k is just a crit. It's like a crit direct hit, I think, without rate buffs. So with rate buffs, like calculate 5% on that. That's 105k. Calculate trick attack on that. That's 115k. But
you're basically just saying, oh, in one ability they could throw out this. That's insane. But the entire point of the reason why the ability is that strong is because you basically have to do nothing for the 2 or 3 GCDs before you use it.
Yeah, but the other GCD, like the normal GCDs, the normal rotation is also strong. So everything on Danger is just way too strong currently.
Like, what is its actual DPS output over the course of a fight? Because you can't just look at a big number and go, ah!
I've seen Dancer varying from, like, bad Dancers deal like 6k DPS, good Dancers deal like 9k DPS and are on the same as Bards. Like, Bard lost DPS, Dancer gained Bard lost support, Dancer gained the support, and Dancer's dealing the same DPS than Bard. And the overall damage is just way too high for a support class if you compare it to, like, for example, a Dragoon that is also dealing 9 to 10k DPS, and then you have that Dancer that is dealing 9 to 8k DPS. That is just way too much.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Dancer does a bit too much damage.
Thank you for actually giving an insightful opinion instead of just going, technical finisher,
Yeah,
which is the reaction I've been getting from everyone else.
I've seen a lot of dances now in the trials I did, and some were good, some were bad, and the good ones, like, it was insane the amount of DPS they did.
I can't really comment on Monk, because I play Monk, but I don't play it to the same level I play Black Mage or Paladin. But, oh boy, Paladin's changes. Jeez, where do we even start?
Well, Paladins needed something, right? They needed...
I personally think Sheltron actually got nerfed.
No.
Because it can block multiple attacks, but block itself got nerfed, and Sheltron lasts for a very short amount of time. It's better on trash pulls for sure, but in actual, like, boss fights, even just dungeon boss fights, I think it's worse than it was before.
No, the thing is, Sheltron, like parry and block and stuff like that got nerfed. It's not Sheltron that got nerfed, it's the block and parry that got nerfed. Sheltron is broken. Not broken, I mean, like, very strong. It's like as strong as Nation Flash.
Can we stop calling everything that's good broken, please?
Yeah, it's just like I didn't mean broken. I mean like very good because like
because the thing is,
I'm pretty much saying Nation Carrot is broken because it's like because it's a warrior that can heal. That's like it's so nice.
But well, no, because the thing with Sheltron is that it only lasts. The original ability only lasts 4 seconds now, which is a significant nerf to Paladin in older content, because it makes Sheltron much more awkward to use. Even when you get the trait at level 74, which allows you, which extends Sheltron, it only extends it to 6 seconds.
The thing is that pretty much you don't notice that probably on Savage content because tank bursts are taking so long. But if you are doing like ultimate content, for example Twintania, it pisses me the fuck off because on Twintania, for example, she before she does the plummet, she sometimes does her auto attack. And it doesn't really matter if it's 15 seconds long. Gone is gone. If it's not for the plummet there, I'm just taking the damage. And now I can just press it in the right timing, block the auto attack and the plummet. That's I don't know what percentage is it now, the block? 25% or something?
20. It caps at 20 now.
Oh, it caps at 20. Okay.
It's gone. It can actually, because of the way that block strength on Paladin shields works, it can actually be less than 20. Although it's basically going to be 20 in any high-level content. So,
Okay.
Savage, Extremes, 24-man raids, you know, it's basically 20 in any content where that extra 3 or 4% matters.
So it's 20%, and in UCOP I had 28% because of the gear and scaling and stuff like that. So at the 27 or 28% block. And now with the new Sheltron, I have effectively 40% instead of just 28% on on an attack that I don't want to block. So it's way better now.
I guess it's all swings and roundabouts. I can definitely understand why it's better on large mob balls. Let me see. Paladin's AoE rotation is great because now, first of all, Total Eclipse has more damage on it. Then it combos into an ability called Prominence, which is a 220 potency AoE that restores your MP. Because it restores your MP, when you get to 72, it will allow you to use Holy Circle, which is a 250 potency magical AoE on here, which may not sound that much, but it's it's really something when you take into account the new Requiescat scat. So back in Stormblood, Requiescat scat was a 20% boost to your healing output and your magical damage output when it was up. Now it's a 50% boost.
I'm sorry?
Now it's a 50% boost, and the attack itself is a 550 potency on an aspect attack, which I'm pretty sure means that it also accounts. I'm not certain on this. I'm pretty sure this may be wrong, but I think because Requiescat counts as physical damage, so it will benefit from the.
It doesn't anymore.
Ah, okay.
They changed it. It's now unexpected. So that's why FOF is now 1 GCD sooner.
Okay. Anyway, Requiescat. So Paladin's damage output from magic is a lot more. They got Intervene, which thank God.
Oh, we finally have a gap closer.
Yeah. The three big issues that have always faced Paladin in the past were poor enmity on the pull, crap, absolutely abysmal AoE, and no gap closer. All three of those have been fixed by Shadowbringers. The terrible enmity on the pull has been changed because of the enmity changes for tanks.
Yep.
Tank stance is gone. God bless the new tank stance.
Yeah.
The terrible AoE has been changed because Paladin now has a proper AoE rotation. In fact, actually, on some pulls, my friend Tom is out AoEing me.
Wait,
yes,
as
that
a
does
paladin
stick in my
versus a black mage?
Yes,
What?
and yes, that does fucking stick in my craw. And Paladin now has a gap closer which holds 2 charges and has a recharge time of 30 seconds. So don't take this to mean that Paladin is now broken. It's not.
No.
It's not notably more powerful than Warrior or Dark Knight, but all of Paladin's major issues have now been fixed.
Thank God.
So Paladin is now the best all-rounder tank, I would say.
Guess I'm
gonna
not
say
tank
that.
I'm leveling.
There is one thing that Paladin did lose, though, which I'm pretty sure is going to upset a lot of the very high-end raiders out there. Cover Cheese is now dead.
Thank you.
Because Paladin used to have the reason why Cover Cheese is a thing is Paladin used to have a trait which reduced the damage they took when they from a target they covered by 20%. It was essentially a free rampart. That is just gone. We have had nothing to replace it. So Cover Cheese is dead, thank God.
No, it's not. I'm sorry, but Cover Cheese still works because you can still use your cooldowns.
Okay, but that's not Cover Cheese. That's just intercepting a tank buster for your partner, which is the point of cover. The actual cheesy part of it. Because the reason what I refer to with Cover Cheese is the fact that it was actually better for the Paladin to cover a tank buster. Like a Paladin would take less damage than they were covering it than just letting the off tank get hit.
Yeah, that's true. But also, using cover in general is better
Cover is at. Cover has a
in some
slight.
scenarios.
Actually, Cover has a 2-minute GCD, but I can't remember if that was the GCD that it had back in Stormblood.
It did.
Yeah, so Cover now not Cover. Cover has the same cooldown, but now it also has an oath gauge cost attached. So and also you no longer get the damage reduction on. Is Cover still good? Hell yeah, but it's no longer cheesy.
It's no longer broken. Cover before that was broken. The double nerf, it didn't suffice, or like wasn't worth the double nerf though, to put it oath and also remove the 20%. One of them would have been sufficient. Yeah, but
I'm
pretty
honestly
much
fine with giving it an oath gauge cost simply because I don't think Paladin has enough to use their oath gauge on.
Yeah.
I mean, now
having
yeah.
Cover being an oath gauge ability makes perfect sense to me, at least.
I mean, now it's true. Now you pretty much have to decide if you use intervention or cover on that part, on that tank burst or something. Because if it would still be the old system with shield swipe, the cover would actually be shit to use. Because old Paladin shield swipe, you always wanted to get as much shield swipe as possible. It's gone now. Shield swipe mechanic doesn't exist
That's another
more.
thing. Shield swipe has just been completely removed from Paladin, and I, for one, am glad because the things that you'd have to do to get shield swipes as enough tank power are just frankly stupid. Like throwing up Sheltron and running into a cleave or.
Yeah, healers are just, correct?
Yeah, but it's like you were deliberately harming yourself for a minor damage boost.
Yeah,
Noticeable,
yeah.
certainly, but it was also minor. It was only a 100% potency ability.
But you know, you need to
It was
chase those
fun to
FF
play
logs.
it.
Let me see. Also for the AoE thing, they've got Confiteor. Deals unaspected damage with a potency of 800 to target and all enemies nearby it. Can only be executed while under the effect of Requiescat. Effect fades upon execution. So, on one hand, you can only use it once. You have to use it at the very end of your Requiescat window. On the other hand, 800 potency AoE with no damage drop.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's and the reason why that's good is because that means that you can use Confiteor at the end of both a single target window and AoE magic window. Oh yeah, also I think can only be executed under the effect of Requiescat, so that's basically always going to have that 50% damage bonus. So it's effectively a 1200 potency AoE with no damage drop off.
Wait, 25-yard range. Is this a cast?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, just throw it.
Atonement. Let me see. Paladin also got Atonement, which is based on the way that their new shield oath.
Sword oath.
Sword oath. Shield oath is dead. We've got Iron Will now, which is both mechanically better and sounds a lot cooler. The way when you get to level 76, you get a the trait of Sword Oath, which gives you 3 stacks of Sword Oath every time you finish a combo with Royal Authority, and you use those stacks to cast Atonement, which is a 550 potency melee attack that restores your MP. So now Paladin's rotation, instead of going Goring Blade combo, Royal Authority combo, Royal Authority combo, it now goes Goring Blade combo, Royal Authority combo, Atonement 3 times, which is much more interesting.
Debatable. I think it's still freaking boring.
And also, at level 78, Paladin gets an ability which makes spells instant cast while under the effect of Scout.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have honestly preferred for them to just make Paladin spells instant cast in all situations, but hey, I'm not complaining.
Like, I'm definitely gonna level Paladin after all I heard of this. It sounds really fun now, actually.
Long story short, Paladin continues to have the most involved and interesting DPS of all.
Yeah.
Hot takes.
I don't know about like it's that's just like if you that is personal preference. For example, I like Warrior more.
Come on, even the guy who literally has Fell-cleave in his name.
It's definitely more interesting as a DPS rotation, but Fell-cleave is fun.
Yeah,
the
I
thing
can't
is,
really argue with that.
the thing is, like, from a standpoint of min-maxing and stuff like that, Paladin is still just press your rotation and you do good DPS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Warrior, actually, on the other hand, now has two different burst windows that you both have to manage, and actually dependent on your team comp, if you have a ninja or if you don't have a ninja, you vary everything, and that to me is very appealing because you always play the class differently.
You say that Warrior has two burst windows, but then so does Paladin. Fight and flight and escape.
But on Paladin, you just keep spamming those. Yeah, you just
for,
like FOF, then reprisal, I'm saying.
As for
Rex
Monk, I've got no fucking idea what they did to this class. I genuinely have no idea.
I've tried looking at I got a 62 and it's like, what? Okay, I know they removed a bunch of
Let me
abilities.
see, riddles are gone, which is good.
No, riddle's still there. It's the tackles that are gone.
Oh no, okay. That's what I mean. The elemental tackles are gone, which is good. The riddles are no longer bound to your fist stance, which is good. The shoulder tackle now stacks to 2, which is really good.
That's nice.
True North now stacks to 2, which, I mean, that's true for all melees.
Yes.
But that's great, especially for Monk, because of how important position.
Oh god, yeah.
Well, it's also super important for Dragoon now because we get a trait at level 76, I believe it was.
Was that about Raiden Thrust?
Yeah, the Raiden
Lance
Thrust.
3-2.
Yeah, the Raiden Trust we get there. We need to hit one or both of the positionals to get a higher DPS or a higher hit, so to say, from our next combo start. So, thank God for 2 stacks of True North, yes!
There we see. We've also got more abilities to handle our Greased Lightning. So we've got a Natman, which just allows you to hold it in perpetuity. Well, okay, it lasts for half a minute.
That's still good though.
But which basically gives you 48 seconds because you also have a timer of 18 seconds. So, and if you need more than 48 seconds to keep your Greased Lightning, the chances are everyone else is just as equally screwed over as you are. You've also got Six-Sided Star, which puts everything on cooldown, but sets your Greased Lightning back to maximum. This has kind of rendered Tornado Kit a bit meh, but hey, Tornado Kitties stay mad. I'm glad the Tornado Kick rotation is dead.
Yeah.
Extremely unpopular opinion, Tornado Kick rotation felt bad.
I never did it.
I tried it. I tried to start learning it, and it was just such a unfun experience.
Well, here's the worst question. Is it worse than the Machinist Wildfire line every 60 seconds?
No, but I think going blind or suffering from carpal tunnel, that's bad.
Oh god.
I guess now we've all discussed our classes, shall we move on to the actual...
I actually wanna
itself?
say something about Enmity though.
Go for it.
Enmity is actually currently very weird. It's probably just because people don't know how to play their classes or something, because I didn't met a lot of tanks. And a lot of new players and stuff like that are playing tanks right now. But yeah, I kind of noticed that it's a bit weird in terms of aggro. For example, as a warrior has, you could say the highest DPS opener, but Darknet is close. They actually rip each other the aggro if you start with tank stance now.
That's actually kind of a thing with tanks now is losing enmity to the DPS and the healers is just no longer a thing. Unless Like, I've literally run up to the boss and and done Xenoglossy direct crit, Xenoglossy crit, done 150k DPS within the first 2 GCDs, and the paladin at the time still managed to immediately get aggro back thanks to provoke.
Yeah.
DPS and healers losing aggro is just no longer a thing. Aggro is now completely the domain of the tank, which I actually prefer. I thought it was really dumb at the end of Stormblood how managing the aggro route was basically completely on the DPS. But the lack of tanks' ability to fine-tune their own enmity without losing out on DPS means that juggling enmity between 2 different tanks is a lot more difficult. Because in FF, it's important for the off tank to be at the 2nd position in the enmity list, because a lot of mechanics target 1 and 2. It's not just a case of the boss is only paying attention to the main tank. Like, I actually had this happen to me in Shadowbringers. I can't remember if it was a dungeon or a trial or just a fate boss, but I was in second place aggro because the tank was obviously not the off tank was obviously not in their tank stance, and I proceeded to start eating explosions because I was in second place.
Yeah, like
it was Adis.
I remember back in Lakshmi Extreme, like back in the early days of Stormblood, I was constantly in second enmity, even if I used diversion, because diversion was shit back then, if you remember that too. As samurai, like, okay, I'm doing the off tank job now, which we could because Variel had 3 stacks, but still, it was like, why do I have to adjust around this? And as Variel mentioned too, all it really boiled down to for DPS was drop your enmity when you can and fucking hit diversion on cooldown. That is not a fun mechanic. That's something you're forced to do.
It was especially tedious as a black mage because, as I mentioned, weaving as a black mage without clipping is very annoying. Back then, you only had 2 opportunities: either when you were flipping between, or when you'd just used an instant cast, and the majority of your instant casts came from OGCDs. So it was like trying to open a box when the key's already inside the box. And more than once, I would clip when I used Lucid Dreaming. Sorry, you were trying to say something, Shacon?
Can I just say, the change to provoke they did is bloody amazing.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Doing the tank swap now, yes, it's so much easier, but I was doing one of the newer streams yesterday with my co-tank, and whenever he died or we needed a tank swap, it was so easy and just so fluent. You couldn't, like, F it up like if you did O10S with Midgar when he did the death from above and below. You can't F it up that badly.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking O10S.
And it was a necessary change. Like, the problem with...
These fucking newbie tanks, they're never going to have to experience the suffering of tank swaps on Midgard Zoma South.
Oh, fuck.
So, the problem
back in my day, we had to aggro swap uphill both ways in the snow.
Go ahead, Megumin.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
So the problem now is pretty much you have to do weird shit as tanks now. Because, like, in all of the fights, you want your fucking tank steps up, of course. Like, pretty much the weird shit is, if, is it okay if I spoiler Titania?
This is a spoiler stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
We were just organizing our spoilers to make it slightly easier on people. Anyway,
We're talking about Titania.
the existence of Titania is not a spoiler because she was covered in a lot of the promotional material.
So, pretty much one of Titania's X mechanics is triple tank buster that is Phalite. That is pretty much it's longer than 6 seconds. So pretty much, I prefer to have all the other tanks tank it. The problem is just if I have a Gunbreaker or a Paladin, I rip their freaking aggro even if they use Provoke because my opener is just higher. So I just rip aggro. So I have to get out of tank stance and have to do my opener. And after 30 or 40 seconds in the fight, I'm allowed to activate my tank stance. And if they die, I have to turn it off again because they can't maintain aggro. So pretty much, Warrior Dark Knights are main tank. And the problem is Warrior and Dark Knight, they have similar DPS though, so they rip each other the aggro as well.
I really feel like they should add a roll action, which one roll action for tanks. One roll action increases your aggro generation. The other decreases your aggro generation.
It does.
No. Like essentially diversion and then anti-diversion. Not just show.
That will be scuffed because on some bosses, well, you want to be target 2, and that would just be scuffed. That's why, sure.
Maybe we can get a secondary provoke that puts you 1 point below current enmity.
Yes.
Yeah, because the thing with enmity in Shadowbringers is essentially enmity is no longer a duty to be maintained by the tank like it is in a lot of other MMO. Enmity is an extension of fight mechanics that must be planned around because again because a lot of the overhead of maintaining enmity is now gone with the changes to tank stance and things like that. But that doesn't mean that it's something brain dead that you don't need to pay attention to, because what happens if, I don't know, your healer, your white mage has had to throw out shitloads of heals for a heal check, and then he's at second place, and because he's at second place, he eats one of the second position tank bust. That kind of stuff. Should we get on to discussing the actual match itself now?
Let's go for it. Now, one quick more thing we had on the outline. Fates has been made, maybe not more fun, but rewarding at least.
I mean, I would also say the Fates are more fun because A, a lot more people are doing them, and B, that the actual design of Fates seems to be a lot more interesting in Shadowbringers. Same with side quests, actually.
Yeah.
The side quests and Fates, they've really put effort into making them worth more.
And I wonder, like, some Fates you have probably done, there's so many fucking mobs in there. Is that because they dropped the 32-bit support so we can actually spawn more shit without breaking things?
Well, part of the other reason with that is now that a lot of people are doing all the Fates together, you now get a group which can pull every single mob in the Fate together, kill them all at the same time. So instead of getting this constant stream of respawning mobs like you do in Fates normally, when there's only like 5 or 6 of you there, all of the mobs are going to respawn at the same time and come at you again in these huge wave attacks.
Yeah.
So that gives the impression of there being a lot more mobs than there actually are.
Yeah.
Also, the thing is, what I noticed is the mob scale on players. If there are more players, there are more mobs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are there?
I did not notice that.
Because I've did it a lot of times where I soloed the Fate on Lakeland, and then someone else came and 2 more mobs spawned. And then I did the Fate solo, like completely solo. There were only 3 mobs all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Awesome. Yeah.
So they've actually made Fates properly scale.
Adaptive scaling.
Like, with the whole shared Fates coming out, we now have more incentive to do the Fates, because we get our riding speed up in every area, we get rank 2. And has anyone got rank 3 in all areas yet?
No, but I know some of the things that are...
no, because you get, like,
and there's minions.
Bardin and that. If you get all
really
6...
worth it.
If you get all 6 areas to rank 3, there's a gemstone trade that opens up in Yulmore.
And the Crystarium too.
Yeah, and well, of course we don't know what that is.
No, because most people have not done that yet.
Because who the fuck has got that far?
Because who the fuck has done 396 Fates?
What I know safely is in the Crystarium trader you get Orchestrion, because I looked at the Orchestrion and it says it there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, it pretty much says that it's somewhere sold in Northrend, but it's pretty much it's it's next to the orchestrions that you get from having Lakeland 3 and stuff like that. So it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
One more change to the whole overworld thing, which I read in the outline, is that we can now like crack B ranks much easier.
Oh,
in our HUDs.
thank God. And S ranks too.
Like, I didn't notice that was a thing until yesterday where I had an elite markup and I just noticed, oh, my B rank's northwest of me.
That was so fucking good.
Amazing.
I really love that change. You don't even have to look around anymore. You can just fly over the area and sooner or later you'll get that little notification. Oh, it's northeast of you. Good. Go there.
It takes so much of the TDM out.
Mm.
I thought Stormblood was the quality of life expansion, but they're really bringing out some fantastic things in Shadowbringers too.
Yes.
It's QL-bringers.
So,
Shall we go into the story?
Oh,
areas.
So I guess the first beginning is the Crystarium.
Well, one thing I would like to say before the Crystarium, though, we get one quest in Mordona. We go to the Crystal Tower, and we're already fucking there. No fucking about, no fucking nonsense, no dumbass shit. We're there and ready to fucking go.
There has been absolutely no filler in this expansion. There's been down points and a handful of quests, sure, but there's been no actual filler. Like there's been.
See what you mean. Yeah.
Like for example, does everyone remember in like 2.3 or so in ARR when we got sent all over Eastern Lenosia to help get perfume for Flaming?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing like that in Shadowbringers. Like, at least when you get sent on tedious fetch quests, it is actually contributing towards the plot.
Yeah.
It's like a fantastic example of that is when you land in Twine, and you need to do fetch quests to help repair the rail system. It's like, yeah, I may be going around mindlessly killing shit and collecting bear asses and broken logs,
But it's to do with the actual story and progression.
actually directly contributing to the story instead of this just being some pissant little time waste.
I actually want to say something before you go completely deep into that. For everyone watching, do the side quest. They give you some of the side quests give you rewards like minions and stuff like that. I already got an emote and 2 minions from it from doing side quests.
Side quests are just worth doing for XP now. It's pretty much 2 side quests give the same XP as the main story. Main story.
So
it's not the most efficient way to level up.
No, but you want to get those fucking exclamation points off your map, though, eventually.
Also, just in general, the writing on side quests is much higher quality.
It's improved.
In this expansion now, very much so. There's all kinds of stuff like the Great Serpent of Ronka, Megasonic Frog Boy.
I think one of the reasons they probably have spent more times on the side quests is also because the job quests are not gone, but they've been reworked into class quests. Yeah, role quests instead.
We can get onto that a bit later because that is technically part of the main story quest. But I will just say I just prefer the role quests over the job
me
quests.
too. It's so much better.
It's like, yeah, sure, we've when everyone thinks of job quests, they always think of the Dark Knight quests, but those are the only job quests of that kind of writing quality.
Yeah.
Everything else varied from large fun, but otherwise largely meaningless. For example, the Black Mage quest line was really fun, but it didn't add any it didn't expand on the lore of the game.
Warrior 60 and 70 was a love story.
Yeah, all the way down to the fucking Paladin quests. Like, they are the worst in the game. I will brook no argument on this. Like, even the NPCs during the Paladin Heaven's Ward questline, how stupid it was. Everyone's reaction at the end was basically, well, what was the fucking point of that?
Because we needed a tournament arc, I think.
Yeah, we needed a tournament arc, dude.
Like, the point... Sorry. the role quests are not the best writing in the expansion, but they were fun and they were interesting, and they're better than the majority of job quests. And on top of that, there are still the individual job quests you get after you've beaten the main story quest, which they're refreshingly low key. Like the Black Mage one is literally you helping Lalai get her diary of everything that happened to you over the course of the Black Mage quests stored in the vaults in the Order of Dal Thal. But it's refreshingly mundane.
Can't wait
The
to
warrior
get
was just pretty much the Stormbloods, and it was just love story again, and actually was quite funny. Like he completely enrages and fly to the moon, this dude, because like, dude, warriors are insane. Also, some of the I like the new design of your choosing of your text and stuff like that. What you want to say?
Yeah.
Like some of them were just funny. Like you told that old guy on the warrior quest. Well, I'm actually already married.
Also,
it was like funny.
Also, just like there are a lot more. There are a lot more text choices, and the text choices are interesting.
More interactions with your character and the NPCs.
Okay. Should we actually move on to the story now?
Yeah. So after the Crystal Tower, we land where? In Lakeland, correct? Yes.
We land in the arse crack of Lakeland, and we get greeted by a merchant who. Do you guys remember the merchant who we rode into town with at the very beginning of the game?
Yeah.
Who was also the guy that saved our arse at the end of the Night of Long Knives at the end of ARR.
Yeah, 2.55, the Red Banquet.
Yeah, the Red Banquet. The merchant that meets us in Lakeland reminded me a lot of, right? I actually think it's the first one.
I think that was very intentional, that it was supposed to be that guy.
And then, of course, to perfectly set the tone for Shadowbringers, about 10 minutes later, we end up. 10 minutes later, we end up at the guard outpost to enter the Crystarium. This crappy little Sinita turns up, is immediately destroyed, but when he dies, he leaves behind the ring that merchant was wearing, so it's like minutes in, and they're already killing off the characters. Like,
at that point...
I thought Heavensward was supposed to be the sad expansion. This expansion has really taken it to a whole lot level.
At that point I knew, like, this expansion gonna be as dark as the Dark Knight job quest, because, well, it's from the same writer. It was obvious it's gonna be fucking... Yeah, it is.
I kept hearing that all over the place, but when I asked was that actually the case, everyone was like, that's what I heard.
Yeah, she did the Dark Knight storyline. She wrote that. And at that point I actually knew this expansion gonna become good and dark as fuck. And like, it is the darkest expansion I've ever played in a JRPG, except Dark Request.
There were a lot of moments in this expansion where I was genuinely terrified that the characters were going to die. When we get to discuss the second half of Armorang,
I know
that is the peak example of that. Like, I actually went and tried to go back, but then I realized that I needed to actually progress the fucking story. Like, I was genuinely panicking for the characters.
So we got Lakeland. We
enter the Crystarium. The actual, like, inside of the Crystarium, it's mostly just a tour of the town and the Exarch explaining. Not a whole lot happens.
It's a maze.
Did you trust the Exarch though? When you first met him?
No, I did not.
I held him at arm's length, but I trusted.
Well, I already knew what it was.
Most of us already came to the conclusion that was probably that dude.
Yeah, we already guessed. But no, like, I didn't trust the Exarch. I didn't trust him completely. I knew there was something else going. but I trusted him enough to know that he wasn't planning on screwing.
No, but I thought he was gonna use us to save this world, and not really care about the consequences to us or the rest of the Scions in the long run.
I actually didn't get that impression.
I did.
Anyway,
You go in, get called the wrong race.
but yeah, the Crystarium is fucking huge. It is easily the largest city in this entire game.
And maze.
You know what just perfectly sums up the Crystarium? The first area I went to was the Temenos Rookery, and I was just wandering around, and I accidentally fell down a hole into the Hortarium where they're growing all those plants, and it took me about 5 minutes to figure out where I needed to go there, because I accidentally fell down a freaking hole.
I just have to say...
sums up the Crystarium.
Yeah, I just have to say, one thing I really liked about the Crystarium, as you said, the size, and I really fucking love your screen is you didn't split it up into 2 zones like you did with ExCog.
It actually feels like a city.
Mm-hmm.
Like the issues I have with Gridania and Limsa and Kugane, not really Uldar and Ishgard because you see them from the outside. Like Gridania feels like a crappy little hamlet. No way, not one of the most powerful cities in Eorzea. And Limsa looks more like a small harbour than the capital of Vilbrin.
Yeah.
And Kugane does not look like one of the largest trading posts in
No.
But the Crystarium absolutely has the scale of an actual city. The place is gargantuan. I'm finally getting some use out of those Strider boots from Eureka because I need them to get around without going mad.
I forgot I had those.
Really?
Yeah, fuck.
Even with the Aethernet across the Crystarium,
The Aethernet is shit in Crystarium. Just straight up shit.
It's not shit, it's fine.
It's useful.
It could be a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
It could be a lot worse, but it could also be a lot better if they would actually be at useful places.
They are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they kinda are.
There's an Aethernet in the middle of the market. There's an Aethernet right outside where you need to go to talk to the Crystallizer. There's an Aethernet right next to where the hunt is. There's an Aethernet. There's an Aethernet which is right next to the Amaro Rookery, which is where you leave the Crystarium to get to everywhere else, which means you have to go to seize them.
I mean, like, the general direction is okay, but, like, if you compare it to others, if you compare it to other towns...
Basically, the Aethernet is next to all of the important things. The difference between the Crystarium and everyone else, though, is there's massive areas between those important things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you compare it to Limsa, you just Limsa is the best city out of all because you just teleport there. You run like 15 steps. You're at the market board and the clock, and the thing there, and the bell. You go to Kugana. You take the Ethernet. You're next to the bell and the market board as well. And like they literally could have just placed it next to the market board, and it would be fine.
To be fair, that's also the case with now, at least.
Yeah. And in the Crystarium, it's just like, it's so big, and everything is just so far away from all. So I don't really like Crystarium.
You say the Crystarium's Aethernet is bad, but remember the Aethernet in Uldar was so bad.
Oh yeah, they fixed that.
Yeah, they had to add a new one.
So bad.
It was very good. But they fixed that.
Let me see, but yeah, the Crystarium is absolutely huge, and the characters there are great as well. I guess spoiler alert for Clan Nutsy, but the guy who runs Clan Nutsy.
It's on his nuts, isn't he?
He's an absolute fucking lunatic.
No, he's nuts.
He is a blood-crazed Moogle that encourages the hunters to go out, kill each other, or get themselves killed in reckless situations.
Wait, not kill each other.
No, he does. He actively encourages hunters to fight each other.
No, what he said was kill the monster and die.
No,
that's what he said.
He also wants them to hunt. He also wants hunters to kill each other. Like
I didn't read that.
At the very start of his conversation, he talks about how the Hrothgar right next to the hunt board attempted to murder him and failed. He's so bad. He's so reckless, dangerous, and insufferable and sadistic. The woman that runs the hunt, that actually runs the hunt, straight up asks you to kill Nutsy. Like,
yeah, I mean, like everyone wants to kill that fucking mentally challenged.
Like, there's no joke to it. There's no joke to it. She literally just looks right at you and says, "If you see him out in the wild, kill him."
I mean, I read screenshot of that shit. Like, holy shit, that freaking shit. Like, she wants to take his Moogle bum and stick it up his throat so he suffocates to it.
No. What was the comment? I swear to God, I'm going to rip that furry shite's palm off and shove it.
One day I'm going to rip the palm off your head and shove it down your goddamn throat, you furry little shite.
Seems about right.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
yeah,
wasn't that what everyone said in Mogholm anyways?
Hey, I liked the Moogles. I don't like Nutsy though. I'm going. If I find him, I will kill him. Because
I hope that's a world boss.
I genuinely hope that we get or there's a trial where they send us.
No more fucking Moogle trials.
No,
they tried that once. Don't.
No. Please no.
Fucking Moogle.
Ugh.
Flashbacks to Thornmarch.
Crystarium's a good city in general though, for size, NPCs.
It's got the only thing it doesn't have is a Grand Company chest, which on one hand makes absolute sense, but on the other hand, there's literally no company chest anywhere in the first.
No.
Makes sense.
It makes lore sense, but it's, a bit tedious.
Frustrating.
Well, it makes lore sense up until you meet the stupid pixie.
Fuck that pixie.
Both of you shut the fuck up. Feoul is a wonderful person.
Right,
and I will
wait.
kill both of you.
Do you play it listening to it in Japanese or English?
English.
Why the fuck do you want to listen to a Scottish fairy?
Because that's a... What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
That fairy is so
How did
annoying.
you-
Feoul's accent is perfect for them in the English.
Well, it is perfect, but it's freaking disgusting.
Annoying.
Like, have you ever played Xenoblades on English? Like, they are also Scottish. Anchor shot. Dude, that triggered me so hard.
I'm sorry. I listen to English because I actually want to understand the emotion and intonation behind them instead of just hearing.
Wait.
What?
Stop watching hentai.
in the Japanese, they're Cinderella lollies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, Titania's so cute.
In every single goddamn Japanese dub for anything ever, they always gasp way too much. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing or not, but it annoys the crap out of me.
Like, I would have to say about that fucking fairy though, like, when she popped up, I was like, please, for the love of fucking Yoshi P, don't let this be a prominent character. Let this be a little throw-off thing here at the start and never speak to me again.
I like Feoul, okay? You're just mad because you're a joyless husk of a man.
Maybe yes, but fuck that fairy.
I play Warrior, what do you expect?
But I like Feoul, okay? And the fact that, actually one other little touch that I did really like is when you access your retainers in the first, Feoul is actually the one that comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure all your retainers would be pissed scared of a random fairy just flew at them, like, give me this, give me this, give me this.
Yeah, imagine our retainers just working away, then that fairy pops out like, hey, can I get out of your gill?
No, she's not just asking like that, she's screaming at them. My little sapling needs it!
Ah.
That is absolute... First of all, never ever do that on the podcast again. Secondly, that is nothing like what she sounds like.
It's pretty close.
Not at all.
She does, dude. She does.
How about we actually continue on instead of having Megumin deafen all of our listeners?
Go for it.
You meet Fairy, you have access to your source items.
Yeah. Anyway, after the Crystallarium, you need to go collect up all of the scions, because
Which you have a choice
the-
of Alpha
Hey,
Node and Addison.
Quiet you.
Fight me.
I can server mute you.
Oh god damn it.
I will if that comes to fight with it. Anyway,
Okay, wait. One thing was brought up in
Feowulf's-
Twitch chat. Is Feowulf's a dude or a girl?
A female.
Neither. None of the pixies have a confirmed gender.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, true.
So
And
unisex.
to be fair, like neither of them probably have a gender. I can't even stick. I just call Feowulf. I just constantly flip between he, she, and they for all of them.
That makes
I mean,
sense.
Titania looks very female, doesn't she?
To be honest, so does every other pixie. All of the pixies have a very androgynous appearance, which is pretty accurate for the Fae. Anyway, as it turns out, because of essentially the time travel element of Shadowbringers will get explained, but ultimately end of it, we never time travel. But one of the things that comes up is that the flow of time in the first and the flow of time in the source are different. They both flow forwards in the same way, but they alternate differently. And because the time flows significantly faster in the first, all of the scions have been stuck there for significantly longer than we have. Thancred was there for 5 years. Ishtar and Urianger were there for 3, and the twins were there for a year. So they've all gone off to do their own things, and we need to hunt them down. The first option you can do is you need to go up find either Alphino or Alizé. And I went for Alphino first, and I personally consider going for Alphino to be the quote correct option, considering Jesus Christ, armoring is an awful place.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Like you mean the area, or like because of the story?
I love the area. I love the area,
yeah.
but the things that happen there are absolutely atrocious.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
I love all of the areas. But so the first area that you go to is Kalusia, and let's just discuss the first half of Kalusia because the second half is one of the last areas. Kalusia is split in half, kind of like how the peaks or Yangzhou is split. And Kalusia it's really strange. Like, it almost looks like Lenosia, but it really isn't.
Even one of the side quests makes a notion of it, like, oh, the winds here are just like the sea breeze from Lenosia.
Everything there doesn't look quite right, like because Kalusia has been affected by the light a lot more than most of the other areas have. Like the entire place has this weird dreamlike feel. It's not entirely real. There's actually a sightseeing log thing that you can go to there called the White Oil Falls, where the waterfall falls so slowly, it's basically still a river, and so the waterfall has cut a groove into the cliff, like a river cuts a groove through the ground as it travels. Kalusia it's just not quite right, and going through, when you finally arrive in Yulmore, you understand. But, you find Alphino, and he's doing exactly what you expect Alphino to be.
Yeah.
He's helping everyone he meets because the boy is too good for his own. His plan to get into Yulmore was to set up a trade deal with the first equivalent of the Sahagin. What was the quote? A trader that can turn plums and pumpkins into pearls seems like the kind of person that Yulmore would. Only he ends up handing it over to this blue-haired Makote, who he can't get into Yulmore, but all of his other friends have. But first,
They're called Mr.
Yeah, well, I think his name's Kai Shit. At first you think
Kai shit.
At first you think, Jesus Christ, Alphino, could you please have a single pragmatic bone in your entire body? But later on, Kaishira actually turns out to be a pretty important character.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the things that I did really like about Shadowbringers. A lot of the side characters, which you would expect to be either one-notes that get forgotten or characters that are treated jokes actually turn out to be deep, involved, and interesting characters.
Yes.
So what ends up happening is you end up saving the life of an artist who was thrown out of Yulmore. Literally thrown out of Yulmore. They threw him off the top of the top floor of Yulmore, and by some absolute miracle, he wasn't turned into chunky salsa on the rocks pool, and he washed up and survived for long enough for us.
Just.
Yes.
So we end up saving his life, and in return, he gives us his paintbrush. And you think, why the fuck would I want a really crappy paintbrush? But it allows Alphino to pass himself off as an artist, which, does anyone remember the sketch that Alphino made of Gosetsu and Yugiri from Shadowbringers?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait,
so
he did it?
Yeah,
Yes.
he did it.
He did it. So
I didn't know.
So it's a nice callback to the fact that Alphino is actually a pretty talented artist. Also, a deep lore fact: Alphino has somewhere a drawing or a painting of the Stola that he did from memory after she came out of the live stream,
Oh,
naked.
seems
Hey,
about
what?
right.
Because a teenage boy will do as a teenage boy. So,
Wait, really? Where? Could I have it?
It's probably on DeviantArt somewhere.
man of culture. Anyway, you and Alphino end up getting into your in most unsettlingly aggravating sequences in the whole of Shadowbringers. Like, Jesus Christ, this game seems to make me want to hate clowns as much as I can possibly.
Yeah, that's
Like,
Sorn and
first-
Thorn, the fucking couple there.
First there was fucking Ferdiad, and then he came back in the 24 Man in Heavens, and then we had Kefka, and now we have the blue and red Zhong.
No, I like them. I
They're-
really
liked
liked them that they
them.
kept rhyming, and that was so cool.
Oh no, they were fascinating, interesting characters, but I also deeply wanted to call them physical.
Oh yeah, and they're also a big nod to Sorn and Thorn from Final Fantasy IX, the red and blue jungler from.
Oh yeah,
jesters.
those creepy little bastards.
Exactly.
Although to be fair, they were less creepy than those.
Yeah.
Oh. Agreed. And you also
although
get
to
to
be fair,
learn about
that
the
made me
mule around that time.
No, you don't. That comes out
that's
a lot
later.
later. That's
Well-
a lot later.
Well, they hand it out. They get introduced
Yeah.
as a
Oh,
Chekhov's
yeah.
gun.
They're handing out some stuff called meal, which is like these weird like very pale cubes of bread, which everyone seems to love the taste of, and it's extremely obvious that something isn't quite right. And whatever your thoughts are, trust me, it's worse. If you haven't got to that point, your theory is wrong. It is worse than what you think.
And like
Jesus Christ.
that entire place, like Yulmore, the way they set up that aristocratic society,
Yulmore.
it's like it rubs you in all the wrong ways, and it's
Yeah.
intended to do so. Like you get some nasty ass Hunger Games vibes, for lack of a better comparison.
A lot of people were actually comparing it to Capital Games, and I think that's a comparison. The people in
What
Yulmore,
games?
Hunger Games,
Ah,
don't watch the movies or read them.
No, it's crap.
I watched the movies and read them. And let me tell you, the movies are not a bad adaptation. In fact, if anything, Katniss is even less likable in the books.
Wow.
I kept reading the books, hoping for something awful to happen to Katniss. But I'm genuinely upset she wasn't killed by the end.
Spoiler alert, but who the
Spoiler
fuck
alert.
cares? Honestly, it's
I
shit.
mean, there is so many spoilers coming out today. There's no point.
Katniss is one of the worst characters in any book I've ever read. Like, holy shit, I've never seen such an unlikable character. Anyway, the Yulmorans are weird as well because their politeness and their friendliness is completely sincere. They genuinely like seeing new people, and they genuinely like helping other people. They're not like smarmy sociopaths that will turn at the drop of a hat. But if anything, that makes the place even creepy. Like, you talk to a lot of and also, like, a lot of the people there, essentially, Yulmore is split into two cases. The citizens, who are the people who actually live there, and then the the free, and then the bonded, who are the people let in from outside.
Oh, fuck. I misclicked something,
What
sorry.
was that, Adrian?
I misclicked. I was gonna send you a message asking if you're leaning back, because it seems like you're getting further and further away from the mic.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
my
go for it.
mic has. My mic, I accidentally knocked my mic like a centimeter away when I was scratching my face.
Okay.
And I've shown you how ridiculously aggressive the noise cancellation of my headphones.
Nice.
If I start to get quieter, just mention it, because that's almost certainly the case.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna do, but I accidentally hit call instead of message.
My
I'm
mic
good.
is on.
Scream at him.
My mic is on the side of my face, leaning back,
Those ones.
any quieter. Anyway, where was I?
I think when you get into your wall, it's pretty funny because you walk around. Obviously, most people get the Ephrites, and you go into the immigration office.
Yeah,
They have a
that's-
whole immigration system.
It's like I can't remember what it's a reference to, but the permit they get you to sign is a reference to something like the A38 permit. And Alphino, you and Alphino both stink of shit because you've been traveling the length and breadth of the land. Hey, you think you'd smell great after saving the world a half dozen?
No,
Anyway.
it's no shit. Go for a shower and put this perfume
Yeah,
on.
they force you to take a shower and douse yourself in perfume. But when you go there, the showers are public. There's no door to the room. The entrance is really big, and there's no curtains on the shower.
Can we just say
Alpha-
that?
Ah,
Yeah.
Alphino
there are curtains.
feels. Yeah, there are, but the curtains aren't closed.
You can't close them, obviously.
Anyway, even if you can close the curtains are kind of see-through, and it's still pretty public. And Alphino is obviously feeling really awkward about it. So you you get three options. You can either call him Stinky and tell him to go take a damn shower. You can say, Alize would be in the damn shower already. Or you can
No,
say,
Estinian.
I wonder what Estinian would think about this.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Which I chose the Estinian one, and his reaction was priceless. He began to get really awkward.
Oh, please don't. It was like
I just called him
saying,
Stinky.
please don't say something about that.
I think the best part is that when you call him Stinky, he takes it on the chin, and if you bring up Alize, he's just like, yeah, you're probably right about that. It's a nice moment that shows how much Alphino has grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, this made me realize something about Alphino. Alphino is a man who never, ever repeats any of the mistakes he makes.
Nope.
Yep.
He's too busy thinking of new mistakes to make.
Oh, fuck.
So you take a shower, throw your
And then you
perfume
head
on.
in, and
Okay.
you meet quite possibly the single most adorable character
What?
in the whole of the Cat Mom.
What?
Cat Mom.
Oh my god, she's so
Not her.
fat.
She's
fatter than
she's-
planet Earth.
Hey, don't you be mean to Cat Mom.
I just have a feeling
What?
that you like every annoying character.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
How
why do
is-
you like every character I don't?
I mean, she's like.
Because you're a miserable bastard, and I find joy in the games like.
To be honest, like she's annoying, but she's extremely nice.
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah, I'll agree. Her voice is annoying, but she's just such a kind and endearing and friendly character that I
Compared
put up
to
with
the
it.
husband.
Actually, the other thing I like about the husband is that when you first meet the husband, you think he's like a piece of shit asshole
Yeah.
that is aggressive and selfish, but actually later it turns out that all of his actions are just because he wants to protect his wife,
Yeah.
and he's plagued with self-doubt issues.
Mm.
Essentially, they're the most wholesome married couple in any RPG.
Yeah.
Like later on, like when you come back later on to Yulmore, Cat Mum and her husband actually turn out to be important characters again. But the two
Very
things,
right.
the reason vary, especially the husband.
Gil might
No.
later.
The reason why I like those two characters so much is because when you first encounter them, you think they're going to be stupid one-note characters. Oh look,
Yeah.
the fat overbearing wife and her annoying but whipped husband. And they turn out to actually be complex and endearing individuals that play an important role to the plot. And I think just those two by themselves perfectly showcase just how good the writing in this expansion is.
Yes, definitely.
Like, the reason why I like Catmum is because she actually is a worthwhile character. She is kind and polite and helpful and actually genuinely very important to the story. She also does a couple of other things. For example, she's the reason why you can enter Yulmore after you get kicked out.
Oh yeah, but I never did.
I did. I went back there a couple times because that's where the Tomestone script exchange is. Oh well. But yeah, after you meet Catmum, Alphino distracts the two of them by being a painting. You get in as his assistant.
And being a doll.
Yes. Although, to be honest, I can completely understand. There are a lot of women out there that jump at the chance to dress up Alphino.
Creepy.
You're not wrong.
Anyway, then leads to one of the more adult. Fucking hell! You basically end up playing higher or lower against a madame in a fucking strip club.
Can I just say one thing about that fucking minigame? Can you please explain the game to me before you force me to play it? How high, low number cards? Was it 1 to 10, 1 to 13?
Angel, there was an explanation. You just didn't click on it.
Fuck that explanation.
Yeah. It's higher or lower. The explanation is literally the name.
Yeah, but how many cards are in the deck? How and low does the cards go?
You just had to press or explain me the rules of the game, Angel.
I'm too busy for that shit. I was blazing through the story, XD.
Are you actually sleeping?
Me? No.
BA is over. Go to sleep, you stupid old man. Do you see what I have to work with?
No, really.
I actually am sleeping a lot more now, to be honest.
Good.
Yay.
He's basically... Yeah, BA is over, so Angel's no longer killing himself.
No, he's still killing himself over the past 5 days.
He's killing himself, but not with sleep deprivation, just with the more classic cigarettes, alcohol, and marijuana.
Don't ask what time I went to bed when we finished the Shadowbringers expansion.
I've literally, for the last 4 days, I have been waking up, immediately turning on my computer, playing Final Fantasy XIV the whole day, and going to bed. Literally, my bed is so close to my desk, I don't need to touch the floor to go from my bed to my desk.
Same.
I prop my feet up on the foot of my bed for when I'm playing my game.
I miss doing that. That was so nice.
I'm doing that right now, by the way.
The bottom of my bed is tucked under my desk.
Wait, what?
What?
It's tucked under your desk?
Back to you.
Back to
I
you.
just have it like...
This is not a
left.
normal desk, by the way. This is the desk in. I'm in a student flat, and the desk is built into the wall.
What?
So there's enough space to fit this bed under the desk twice over.
Okay.
So you're higher or lower?
Higher or lower, then
Played that like 2 times.
Then I just won twice in a row.
Yep.
Something most cursed man on the Discord. I think not. Anyway, well, I'm cursed and I'm lucky. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Nah.
There, I think we also get told to dance.
Yep,
on
we
one of the
become a stripper.
poles. Yeah.
And we know where the new ERP center is gonna be now.
Still
Of
limbs
course.
up.
Of course. Yeah. To be honest, the ERPs are going to be too lazy to head to.
No, they're going to be too lazy to level up to 80.
Yeah.
We've literally got a strip club, and none of the ERPs will use it.
A lot of them use
I don't know how to
because a lot of ERP are actually playing the game.
Yeah.
Megumi seems to know a lot about that stuff.
Well,
But you want to explain
You
something?
gotta, hey,
wink.
you gotta have something to do while you're waiting for the next patch to drop.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I don't think ERP is any worse than using a server of 1,700 people as an excuse to kill yourself.
That was dark.
But I want to live now. I haven't got a time of my life, XD.
I'd say that I don't want to get banned off Twitch.
I mean, hey, this isn't my stream. Although to be fair, I can probably still get banned off Twitch for saying that.
Yeah.
I'll tone that down then if Twitch actually takes issues with that.
Oh yeah, they actually do.
Huh?
Okay.
Alright.
Because Twitch
It
is
is marked as
stupid.
mature content, though.
Anyway, let me see. After the strip club, you immediately go to see Lord Vorthry, and
Oh
no,
my
Lord
god.
Someone gets-
Vorthry.
No, you hear someone scream.
and then you go see Lord Vorthry.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I gotta say, Lord Vorthry is the single. He seems custom built to be the most hateable villain for me. He's like
Yeah.
the physical embodiment of
Yeah.
everything I despise, and I
Jabba the
think
Hutt.
he's a fantastic villain.
Yeah,
Jab-
he's one of the best built villains I've seen
Yes,
in
'cause
video
he's-
games.
he represents everything that we stand against.
Mm.
He represents sloth and indolence and selfishness and greed and
And an own galaxy.
using the he uses the he's also a fantastic example of how bad the light is for this world, because Lord Vorthry, you find this out the instant you meet him. He can control the Sin Eaters, and he is very strongly tuned to the light. But he is easily the most reprehensible and evil character in this entire expansion.
Yeah.
Like, I had physical fucking reactions to see that cutscene. I was like, I wanted to both vomit and kill him right there on the fucking spot if that was an option.
Also, like that moment, I think is actually the first example when you see of how unless you took armor rank first, Jesus Christ,
I did.
of how dark this
I did.
expansion is, because basically the guy who's screaming was Kai Shir, the guy who Alphino helped in by giving him his business contacts, and he said, and basically Kai Shir's crime was being a bit unruly and not acting like a great businessman. What was Lord Vorthry's punishment for this?
Jump up
He
the
told
fucking building.
he told Kai Shir to jump off the edge to his death, and when Kai Shir refused, he forced Kai Shir to carve a chunk out of his arm with a knife to feed to a Sin Eater. And you see this, by the way. There's blood running all the way down Kai Shir's arm.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's another big tonal shift. Shadowbringers actually has blood in it.
And that was
Another-
so... I was really confused about that because the entire fucking court, so to say, they just stood there and applauded it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
These people that
That
are
is-
supposed to be so nice, they
Vorthry
just
was
fucking
giving a
accepted
speech.
that.
Vorthry gave like a whole dictator speech, and like everyone just accepted it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty much at
and
that point,
that
I know what was happening there.
I think.
So,
Well, no,
yeah.
that's before. You're actually, to be honest, you're actually wrong on that. Warframe wasn't doing anything to control those people. They were just simply, didn't care. They had everything they needed. Why should they care about some random man threatening their
Yeah.
lives?
Mm.
Actually, like,
We can discuss
We'll
that
talk
when we
about
get
that.
onto it.
yeah.
But
Alphino calls him an asshole.
yeah, no, Alphino doesn't just call him an arsehole.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time in the entire game that we see Alphino lose it. Like he loses it. He's absolutely enraged and livid.
Mm.
And that's doubly impressive because Alphino's the one who's always the cool, calm, and collected one, regardless of the situation. But he fucking loses his shit. This is how disgusting and reprehensible Lord Vor is.
Yeah.
And Lord Vorthry then proceeds to lose his shit as well, and have what I can only describe as a massive temper tantrum.
Yeah.
He rolls over, literally, because the man is fucking spherical, and starts like pounding on the ground, screeching, "How dare you! How dare you!" Ah!
And again, no reaction from the court. The people
Absolutely
just like,
no
okay.
reaction from the people either. They see it as completely normal.
They're used to this.
This man acting like a fucking toddler.
Mm.
But no, I will say there's one character that in this entire game which I would say is probably more evil than Lord Vorthry, which is Xenos. But I don't hate Xenos anywhere near as much as I
No.
hate him.
Like, Xenos took a
Xenos
while
is just
to actually,
amazing.
become hateable. Vordrick,
The
that was
reason-
like 5 seconds flat. I was like, yes, this dude needs to
Yeah.
fucking die.
Because the reason why Xenos is terrible is because he doesn't stand for everything. He does every terrible thing he does for his own amusement.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which is why he's reprehensible, but it doesn't grate on you. Lord Vorthry, on the other hand, he stands on principle. He says he'll bring everyone into a golden age, as he's literally forcing a man to carve a chunk out of his arm to feed to a sin eater of all things.
Vosri is pretty much the samurai that deals 3k DPS and dies to an AoE and tells the healers to adjust.
I mean, no, that's not really true because Vorthry's actually able to put out decent DPS.
Wow.
Dishes per second or what?
Good.
Dishes per second, food dishes, XD.
Anyway, after that, you more or less run the fuck out of Yulmore.
Not really, you just stomp out.
Well, okay, run the fuck out is an exception, but you leave before Vorthry gets actually mad. And oh boy, he really gets mad, like well beyond a temper tantrum. Like,
oh boy.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Jesus
John
Christ, who put that tub of lard in charge of the largest army on the...
It's
But
pretty much.
Actually,
question
we
about
know,
that.
We do actually know who put him in charge.
Later
but,
on.
One question about that though. Largest army in the world. Where is that shit housed?
Yulmore.
Yoma.
outside, well, the thing is, Yulmore is a big place. We don't see all of it, just like with
Yeah.
all of the other cities. But on top of that, Yulmore isn't just Yulmore. Yulmore controls a lot of terrain.
That's true.
Yeah. Calicia, basically all of that. He has all the
Also,
airships as well.
There's also a lot of places outside Kalusia which Yulmore technically controls, because Yulmore is the largest political power on the First, even more so than Crystarium.
For example, Yulmore controls the castle in the middle of Lakeland.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Laxon
for
Lock.
example, if you watched in Colossia, like a little bit around and stuff like that, you see buildings, and that's probably like also used buildings of their army. And pretty much you didn't see the entire army complex that is like between like the strip club and stuff like that, where the Aetherite is, and the and the throne hall.
Okay.
Also, again, Lord Vorthry doesn't send his entire army because that's not a thing you can do with armies.
Can I say though, they could not have picked a better voice for Vorthry.
No.
It's incredible. 'Cause
They could not pick a better voice.
I think the thing with Vorthry is extremely annoying, but also not at the same time. Like, it's an unpleasant voice, but it doesn't become grating.
Yeah.
So it's like he's got like an unpleasant voice to listen to, but at no point are you just like, I hate hearing him. It's actually unpleasant hearing this voice.
Yes.
Also, it carries that perfect combination of like imperial confidence and power, but also the fact that he's just a giant man-child.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing with Vorthry as well is that he's not a joke. At no point in Shadowbringers is he actually played off as a joke. He's a genuinely powerful and genuinely dangerous man.
Yeah, and everyone has to show him respect because he has this large army, he controls the city and all of that stuff.
Yeah, like there's a reason why there is a very good reason why he's in charge of you.
And he has literally the demons of the world controlled with his side.
Yeah.
Because the city is.
Let me see then. So basically, you leave Armorang, and after Armorang, you and Alphino do like one or two more things. Make sure everyone around you is going.
Fat cat lady says you come back.
Oh, yeah. Fat cat lady meets you because even after everything that happened, the lady and her husband actually are concerned for you.
Yep.
And again, back to the husband. I do actually think the husband was genuinely concerned, and it's not just because of Dahlia.
Even though he hated the painting, but
Well, the thing is, he
did
didn't
do a painting of those two.
He didn't hate the painting. He just didn't want the painting to upset his wife because
She
the
fat.
painting showed Dahlia in all of her chunky glory, and I can understand why some people would get upset at it.
Oh right, yeah.
But
No,
no,
she
'cause-
turned out to loved it.
But then she actually loves it because, like, again, the thing is, he's not like this whipped little bully that likes to hate things. He just wants his wife to be happy, and whenever like it seems like his wife is henpecking him, she's not henpecking him. He's actually perfectly fine to like give in. It's not because she's harassing him.
Yeah.
Essentially, Catmum and her husband are like a genuinely wholesome, loving, healthy relationship between the two of them.
I'm gonna quickly find out their name.
Chaish, I think it's Kashir or something. Chashir or something. It's a similar thing to
Should we move on to the Alice desert area?
Then with Alice, you go to Armoret and
desert area.
Jesus, ever-loving Christ. The first half. Okay, so the first half of that expansion of that area, we can largely gloss over.
Yeah.
You go around Creed.
Yeah, you go round and you arrive in a town called Mordsuk, which is full of the Mords, which are the first's equivalent of kobolds. I like them. I think
they're cute.
Cool and charming.
They are.
Also, I mean, I'm just a big fan of kobolds. I like the Mords more, especially when they get excited and do like the monkey jumping. Anyway, you do Mordsuk, and being in Mordsuk is really fun. But it's largely just boils down to a matter of getting supplies from the Mords before moving on. The ultimate thing that you're getting is you are trying to head to the Journey's Head Inn, which is where it's what's it called again? I can't remember I just call it the Journey's Head Inn, but the full name is the Inn at Journey's Head. And essentially, this is where you find out that people who survive attacks from Sin Eaters, from powerful Sin Eaters, end up becoming corrupted, and over time, they slowly turn into Sin Eaters.
So,
and
fungus.
It is a terror. The thing is, this technically happens with Void Scent in the source as well, but the difference is in the source, everything's at balance, and so the body naturally tends towards balance. So when you go out and you fight a terrifying Void Scent and it taints your body with darkness, it goes away fairly quickly. But in the first, everything is skewed towards light. So instead of the body adjusting to handle the light aether inside them, it just spreads until eventually the person's soul becomes completely corrupted by the light. And they turn into Sin Eaters in what I can only describe as an agonizing.
Terrifying.
We can actually an agonizing and terrifying process.
Yeah.
What happens is shortly after you come to the Journey's Head's Inn, you meet Alize, who's been there so that she can find out more about the Sin Eaters themselves and also help the people. The Journey's Head Inn is a really depressing place because it's essentially the end of the world. It's so close to the devastation left by the flood. You can literally walk over to the wall of light aether crystals created when Nymphilia stopped. It's the end of it's a place at the end of the world where the dying travel to so they can die in peace.
But how do they die? They get fucking poisoned at random when their time is near. How fucking disgusting is that?
Well, no,
Poison their favorite food.
It's not disgusting. It's the best way. It's the best way to get them go. They hunt down the person's favorite food, and then they poison it so that the person can drift off instead of transforming into a Sin Eater, which is the single most horrifying thing I have seen in this entire game.
Yup.
And we went to Azisla.
That scene legit hit hard for I think most people.
Everyone. Okay, so just to put this into context of how like the Journey's Head Inn actually tries, you end up in a 5 or 6 long quest chain in Mordsuk to get your hands on a single nectarine, which is what they're going to poison, because there is a child at the Journey's Head Inn who's about to turn. And shortly later on, a very powerful Sin Eater flies past and lures the child out of the camp. So you Alize, and another NPC called, pardon me,
Tenzin? No.
Tesleen.
Tesleen, yeah.
I just ran the dungeon. Tesleen go after the kid, and by the way, you've already encountered like Tesleen. She's like a very nice, kind person, the kind of person you expect to see at a place like the inn at Journey's Head. Alize has a very blatant crush on her.
Yeah.
It's all sweet and adorable. And then you, Tesleen, and Alize go off, find the kid, and you bump into a Karibu. You remember the statue at the end of Amberpour City Hard. It's basically a thing, but an actual Sin Eater. And you expect the kid to turn. Instead, what happens is the angel stabs Tesleen through the chest, and instead of killing her, turns her into a Sin Eater, where she begins to, shake and convulse in extreme blinding agony as her eyes begin to burn away and glow. And then what looks like plaster of Paris begins to appear and cover her body like rancid slime. Before she begins bleeding black from her eyes and her mouth. She lunges at the kid, and I'm pretty sure the only thing that stops her from snapping the kid's neck and eating him is she suddenly screams out in agony, curls up like a dead spider, and gets trapped in a big cocoon of feathers before bursting out as this really disgusting-looking void scent with this elongated neck and black gunge running down her face from her eyes and mouth. She says something to Alize along the lines, "I'm sorry," and she calls out Alize. My description really doesn't do it justice. I felt physically sick after watching it.
Me too. And you paint a really nice, vivid picture with words there, but holy fucking shit.
I actually had to step away because I felt like I was gonna vomit.
Oh, I did not expect that, and I went there first, so that was like my first major story point too, before Volric.
I fucking almost shrieked. That was genuinely terrifying. Holy hell! Who greenlit that? Who thought that was acceptable to put in this game?
Isn't this rated T for teen?
It's just like, you should be both very proud and extremely ashamed of yourself.
Holy shit.
But that marks the end of Armorang. A lot of stuff happens in Armorang, but that's the important part. And, holy shit. Just, Jesus, I don't have words to properly describe my reaction to that.
Yeah.
It was horrifying.
Yep. Horrid, horrifying, fucking disgusting, all of the above, and a bit more.
My friend was on the call, and my friends were on the call with us because I took him with me because two of us went to Yulmore first, the other two of us went to Armorang first, and he's not the kind of person that gets really into the game like I do. So he's a little bit jaded. It's very hard to make him react. He doesn't get. He kind of skips the story sometimes. He doesn't get attached to the characters or remember all the... You know the kind of player. They care about the story, but not too much. He fucking shrieked.
Damn.
Like he shrieked at it. Well, shriek is a slight exaggeration, but still. That was nightmarish. I actually had a nightmare when I went to sleep that night.
Understandable. Like, it was pure nightmare fuel, and I think some younger players might have a legit bad reaction and memory scarred for life.
This game is and we're going for longer Megumin. Shadowbringers, boys.
It's definitely the darkest story so far.
Thing is, like
the entire game.
Let's put it this way: we so far before Shadowbringers have had human sacrifice, enslavement and brainwashing, religiously motivated genocide, human experiments, just regular plain old genocide, racial oppression, a pogrom, a class war,
a A war built on a lie that lasted 1,000 years.
Our friends murdered before our eyes. A priest trying to murder a child.
Well, that was a great scene.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and. No, I'm not even into Stormblood yet.
Oh.
Stormblood had even though Stormblood was supposed to be the more light-hearted versions, we had the absolute crime against man and god that were the Resident. We had Grinwat. We had what happened to Grinwat, where he became a hyper-tuned monster. There's a reason why my friends keep comparing him to a Chaos Space Marine. All of this has happened. All of the horrible things. And yet, Shadowbringers is still the darkest thing to happen in this game.
And even at the end of Stormblood, you learned about gas weapons and biological weapons that Garlemald planned to use on us.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot. There's also trafficking and sex trafficking in this game too.
Oh yeah.
Not as part of the main story, but there are a lot of side quests that make allusions to it. Eorzea is not a nice place to live, and this game really gets very adult at times, but Shadowbringers took that ball and fucking ran with it.
No, they set the ball on fire and threw it in your face.
That marks the end of like the whole
that's
introduction of Shadowbringers.
That's literally the introduction. We're barely on with the story and we're already emotional.
So after all that, we go out to Crystarium and talk to the Exarch in the tower.
And we get a really nice scene.
Let me just go double check the unending journey to make sure we haven't missed anything before.
And so I don't think we did miss anything major there. So I just want to say we go back to the Crystarium and we get this beautiful scene that is very reminiscent of the scene we got in Cosmo Canyon from Final Fantasy VII, where they explained the planet and the live stream and all that nonsense. Yeah. And it's basically a big nod to that, and we get to see the 13 shards and the source.
Also, don't we learn about the thing that we're trying to prevent?
Yes, that's where they kind of explain how the floodlights actually work.
Yeah, so
essentially, we actually finally get an explanation as to what a calamity is.
Yes.
Where essentially, long story short. Sorry, I need to sip because I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, no worries, dude.
Long story short,
what happens is that aether flows from the reflections towards the source, performing a natural balancing act within the source. What happens is that the Ascians tip the aether of a world significantly towards a certain element. They already did it with the dark and fucked it up and created the void. That actually didn't lead to an umbral calamity. They just completely destroyed the world.
Was that the first time they tried it? So that was like their
experience.
Yeah, that was like, how do we do this? We don't even fucking know. And the Ascians supposed to be powerful.
That's also why Void Scent have been a very prominent thing in the game up until now. But the other equivalents, like say Sin Eaters or whatever the lightning fire equivalent, haven't appeared because the Ascians actually learned from their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say, after this point of the introduction, the story just gets all mind-fucky.
Yeah, but anyway, just an explanation. So what happens is the Ascians wildly tip the shard to one of the a certain magical element, and they've already done this with the dark, and they've already done it with each of the 6 major elements. And the first is where they're doing it with light, which actually does kind of raise the question of what we're going to do with the other worlds. But
well, it seems like each shard has like one element that they exaggerate and bring back: fire, chaos, darkness, ice, and water.
What happens is when the world is tipped far enough, the aether that runs from that to the source becomes an absolute flood. And a ridiculous amount of it starts pouring in. And so much aether rushes from the shard back to the source that it shatters the boundary between the source and that particular shard. And that shard basically falls into the world.
Yeah.
So, for example, everyone knows about... pardon me. Everyone by this point should probably know about the flood.
Yeah.
That ended the 5th astral era and destroyed Andapur and Mahach. And Nim as well, who totally didn't deserve it.
Nope.
That flood was created because the Ascians tipped the elemental aspect of the world they were going after to water, so that and oh yeah, by the way, one of these rejoinings has to be combined with a similar element on the first. So when the Asians tipped a shard to water, at the same time the source was also strongly tipped to water, because the mages of Mahatch and Amdapur were using magic of all 5 of the other elements, but they weren't really using water magic. So the source was also tipping towards water. So when the water of the shard, or sorry, the water aether of the shard rushes into the first, it combined with the water aether overabundance in the source into a biblical flood that washed away civilization. And the other thing is, as well, is these are the rejoinings, and what happens is that while the calamities would still happen without the rejoinings, the rejoinings are what aggravates them into a calamity. So, for example, if it wasn't for the Asians rejoining a shard at the same time, that flood probably would have only destroyed 1 or 2 countries instead of the known.
Yeah. So the calamity we had that started off 2.0 with Bahamut, was that the chaos calamity that we saw, or the?
No, actually. As far as, to be honest, as far as I know, that calamity wasn't actually paired with a rejoining.
That's
Wasn't it
weird.
because that one had Bahamut?
Yeah. Basically, what happens is that each of the calamities is attuned to an aether. However,
The Bahamut
there
calamity
hasn't-
was one of the rejoinings ones. This was the last
Was
one.
it the dark one?
Yeah. Yeah, it was the dark one.
Yeah, darkness or chaos, I
okay.
believe.
I could have, okay, because I wasn't sure if they'd actually managed to succeed on a dark rejoining, seeing as they completely ballsed up the first attempt.
Well, if you go back and watch that scene, you have one that was, I believe, ice, water. I'm pretty sure I saw, and
There was
wind,
one of each
maybe.
element, and there was one of dark.
Yeah, and there was one that was dark or chaos, as we say, and I think that must have been the Bahamut one then.
Yeah, that is the Bahamut one. Pretty much what Bahamut was is the Ashian summons them, summoned Bahamut, and not really the Garlean. But to be honest, Garleans are Ashians, if you can say so.
Bad explanation. Bahamut had already been summoned time before. What the Asians
They
did
reawakened him.
Yeah, Bahamut was always awake. That was one of the reasons why he was so screwed up and angry. You find this out in the coils. Essentially, Bahamut had been awake and alive the entire time he'd been in the moon, because the Allagans had been keeping him alive so that they could use him to gather the fire aether of the sun. Because Bahamut is actually a fire elemental primal, but in the time that he was trapped in the moon, he became increasingly powerful because he was drawing aether from the sun and from the moon itself. And he was also drawing faith from the followers trapped inside Dalamud. What the Asians did is the Asians told the Garleans about Meteor and egged them on into using Meteor to take out Eorzea. And then once Project Meteor was actually underway, Bahamut managed to temper the people running it, and by that point it would already run its course. So the Asians had goaded the Garleans, bringing Meteor down. This, by the way, is nothing new or from Shadowbringers. This is all from early Heaven's War and from 1.0.
Yeah, but we get a good solid confirmation on why.
Oh yeah.
And just in that scene, why the reunions are even, or why they're happening, we don't really know yet, but they are happening and they cause the calamities.
Yeah, I don't believe that Emmett Selk is in the story at this point.
Nope.
Nope, he's not.
Anyway, after we rejoin, after we rejoin, that's when Holminster Switch happens.
No, we learned to kill a certain thing called a Light Warden because they are the things that control Sin Eaters around a certain area.
Sorry. They explain what a Light Warden is, which, if you don't know what a Light Warden is, stop watching this bloody podcast right now and go actually play the damn expansion. But it feels weird telling people not to watch our content.
A bit, yeah, but it's true too. Like, you should experience this firsthand. You should.
Anyway, they explain what a light warden is in roughly the same cutscene that they also explain how the rejoinings work.
Yep.
Well, the full explanation wasn't given in that cutscene. The full explanation was given with M itself, but they did explain the basic concepts of a rejoining, to explain the importance of the flood of light. Anyway,